Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Apologies for the slight delay in this next video. I've been in Vegas for the last couple of days at a show called CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, for anyone who's familiar with the space. It's one of the biggest trade shows in the world, focusing on all things tech, innovation, really to see what's coming down the pike down in 2023. Happens every year. I went there with my network, a lot of friends, past colleagues, current people I'm in business with. And why did we go? Well, to see what the latest and greatest in the world of innovation is, and really to see which way the wind is blowing. And let me tell you this, for anyone who is still on the fence as to whether crypto is going to be around for the long haul, don't worry about that fence. It is definitely here and it's bigger than ever. It is fantastic to see a ton of conglomerates, a lot of these mega institutions in the tech world really investing hard into all things metaverse, blockchain. I would go as far as to say that the 95% of the best innovation that I had seen from this year's show all came down to this realm. It's all a fantastic innovation throughout the virtual reality, the AR, the AI space, all tied into blockchain. So yeah, crypto is definitely here to stay, and this next bull market is going to be fantastic if this is anything to go by. Why am I making this video? Well, I think that part of my channel, part of the aim behind my channel is to really bring an extra bit of context to, this whole crypto space. If you've seen my previous video, you may know that my background comes more from a VC background, a large part of in finance as well. And so as I'm talking to a lot of the folks out of the show, and really we're discussing which way the wind is blowing and, who's investing where, what tech is looking good, coming up certainly the next couple of quarters. I thought it'd be a great video to really give you a sense of what people in the VC world tend to look for when investing, not necessarily into crypto, but into a project that they see has a future. And so I thought that this may strike a good balance between being digestible for anyone who's coming into the space, who's a little newer, while also not being too tedious for anyone who is perhaps a little bit more experienced in the space. And so moving on, if you look at the slideshow here, again, very, very brass tacks here. But ultimately, all of this paints a picture to me as to why will Pulsechain and PulseX absolutely dominate in the upcoming bull market, and even before. The writing's on the wall for me. I hope it is for you too, but this is definitely one lens in which to look through things. So first thing, when it comes to a layer one, when it comes to any layer two, any DEX, unless you have a very, very small, minuscule investment pool to begin with, that happens, luckily, unicorn, to get a huge uptick in attention, in community. Well, unless you have that kind of unicorn factor, what is the only way to pump a project's price and value and perceived value? It's really when the big money gets involved. We are all retail investors. So us getting involved in a sacrifice, for instance, is great. And that's certainly a good way to start things off. We don't want to rely on being a unicorn. We're already a fully fledged community now. We want to have some gravitas to stand on. And it makes the world of difference if we're able to pull in that much larger bankroll once it's launched and once it's up and running. So, hold on, bear with me. Institutional money. What do we mean by institutional money? And again, a lot of you understand what institutional money is, but I want to give you a sense of, certainly for those newer coming in, when people talk about institutional money, it isn't necessarily just banks. Yes, it is banks. It's also investment houses. It's venture capitalists. It's angel investors. Fortune 500, not even Fortune 500 companies. It could be much, much smaller companies with an investment arm or a strategic purchasing and hedging arm that are also looking to diversify the assets of that company. It's literally any entity in the world with money to throw around. And a lot of companies have a lot of money. We have a saying, certainly with a lot of the folks that I know, that, when you are poor, and when I say poor, when you're not making millions of dollars, you think everyone is poor around you. It's not until you start rubbing shoulders and seeing so many people with money that you actually understand that there's so much money out there. And it isn't just the Goldman Sachs of the world. It isn't just the huge mega conglomerates. It's any company that's marginally successful on a decent scale. And they would be stupid. I mean, a lot still aren't getting involved in crypto right now, but they would be stupid not to at least hedge against rising inflation and all of the kind of macroeconomic issues that we have going on right now. So this is one of the most important elements we can hope for, being part of this ecosystem, the Hex, Pulsechain, PulseX. We really want to hope that institutional money gets involved. I think it will. This will hopefully showcase a little bit about why I think that. But also I think that, when it comes to a sacrifice, just the phrasing of that sacrifice, no expectation of the work of others. It's dicey ground for any strategic purchasing or hedging arm or investment arm division of any company or bank to get involved in. They're simply not going to get, they're not going to get any sign off on it. Personally, perhaps they'll get involved, but writing those big checks on behalf of an entity, it's certainly not going to get passed up the chain and given the seal of approval. So it's all about attracting that much larger money. Now, what do we look for when we're looking at something to invest in? Whether it be, from my background, it was more of a software, a fintech, financial technology. It was more of a software as a service type dynamic, but many of the same rules apply. So first of all, track record. Now, this kind of speaks for itself in Hex. We have a currently working project called Hex with flawless operation that's been working since the get up and has gotten, a 10,000x return plus to anyone who's gotten involved from the get-go. Yeah, it's dipped with the rest of the market, but in terms of a track record and a product that speaks for itself, that is what we would call quantifiable. We can see, we can draw those comparables with the rest of the market and see that, yes, it's actually done very well. Now, Richard Hart himself, I mean, everyone may have their own unique kind of view on who is quite an unusual person, but he is present. Now, that makes a huge difference, especially in the crypto world. You don't want to see a crypto project where the founder is nowhere to be seen. I mean, have they done well? Bitcoin, I guess it was the original, the OG coin that actually managed to thrive without a founder being present. I guess the mysteriousness kind of added to it, but rug pull after rug pull later, having a very vocal and present leader is ever more important. And if there's one thing Richard Hart it's present. Even if we have, how did Randy Halasky put it today after the Hex conference? It was a bit of a nothing burger today. He's still speaking. He's still there. We don't want him to launch now anyway. But he's always there. He's always a voice, and he's always got something intelligent to say. He's certainly strong. He's very intelligent. He's very confident, and he's very single-minded. All of these are traits that you want to see with someone at the guiding the ship of the project you want to do well. You don't want them to lack confidence in the direction that ship is going. All of these things are attributes you look for a leader, regardless of the realm they're operating in. And so I would say that, a big green checkpoint when it comes to leadership ability so far. Moving on, innovation. Now, this speaks for itself. I mean, I've not put any bullet points here. We can all use our common sense, but innovation, crypto is innovation for the largest part. Yes, we do have a lot of insubstantial crap that's also launched, through various blockchains. But I will say that the proof is in the pudding when it comes to what the promises are and what we hope these projects will do. As a decentralized exchange, we know what that's going to do. You have things like the buy and burn on top of that, which is very innovative when it comes to long-term price predictions, maintaining value. These are the things when it comes to innovation that I certainly look for in all things related to finance. And this is finance. Crypto is finance. Serviceable, obtainable market. Now, we call it SOM, which, basically means you want this to be a product that has a large audience of people who will ultimately buy it. It is produced for an ever-growing and ever-sustainable audience of customers. The crypto market is set by numerous sources, check them out, but the crypto market is set to grow to about $11 trillion in 2023. Again, this kind of speaks for itself. Usually this is a little harder to find when you're looking through niche products. If something's a little bit too niche, then it's maybe not good timing sometimes to get involved, unless it's real cutting edge, then it's a slightly different algorithm that goes into play. But usually if the niche is too small, it's not something we'll invest in right away. Or if we do, we'll piecemeal the money that goes into a project purely because we want to see how things progress. With something like this, where we're in a revolution, and I've said this before, we are in a crypto revolution, and we're not going to see too many opportunities like this before. We know the SEC are going to have an absolute ton of rules and regulations coming down the pike, and so this is optimum timing. So in terms of that SOM, that serviceable, obtainable market, it's already there. All we want to do right now is grab as much of that as we can. Okay, a strong team. Now, usually when looking for a project, a product, a company, the team is everything, not just the leader, but you want to have a foundational team in place that knows where they're going and is able to get there. There's no real other way of saying it. For the team in this instance, you can't deny it. It's the Hex community. I've never seen a cult following like this. And I use that term fondly because it is a cult following, but I don't really think there's any negative connotation for that. From what I've seen, the Hex community seems to be very helping of one another. A lot of folks have made a lot of money. I mean, again, the proof is in the pudding there when you're looking at successes within this ecosystem. And so, when you have a Hex community who is consistently marketing the product without taking anything away, there's no funds that are being pulled or potentially will be pulled from Pulsechain or PulseX to enhance marketing. The marketing for Hex so far, and what I've seen, the marketing for PulseX and Pulsechain has all been done off the back of people within this community, and it's fantastic. You look on YouTube, you see a lot of influencers just like myself speaking about the various unique selling points of the project. This is certainly one. So I would encourage anyone to analyzing, the team of this kind of Hex community, of Pulsechain and PulseX as products. The community is the team, and it's a very strange dynamic for a crypto. I know some Cardanos, for instance, of the world will have somewhat of a cult following that will help maintain some of the traction that they'll have in Cardano, even though it's a bit of a useless project in my mind. But the Hex community is fantastic at doing this, and built into that is the fact that there's a lot of delayed gratification that has proven to be successful through the litmus test that was just Hex. It's crazy. People have actually seen firsthand in the Hex community that when you wait and you hold an asset, it goes up in value much, much more than if you were to sell and trade and do all of those things that end up just whittling down your asset amount. Of course, you have to be involved in good projects for that hold to actually end up making you a lot more in the long run. But I think when you have a large portion, a huge portion of the Pulsechain and PulseX community at launch being that experience from the Hex litmus test, that delayed gratification is on a whole other level compared to where everyone else is. Everyone else, mostly from what I've seen, what I've been involved in, you have a huge dip. You have people selling off as soon as they hit kind of relatively minuscule numbers within the crypto world. A 5x or a 10x isn't shit compared to 100 or 1,000 or 10,000x. But sometimes it takes people going through that journey once or twice to be able to have the confidence and the mindset to hold, much longer term. And I think we have that in this community. And I kind of, I loop these together with proof of concept. Again, we've seen that proof of concept in Hex. We've also seen that proof of concept through other dexes, through other layer ones. So again, it's a little easier to prophesize when you see on paper what other projects have done, especially one that has done very well within the same ecosystem with the same founder who's still around, that hasn't rug pulled, that seems to be saying and doing all the right things to continue have us all kind of follow him and respect what he's saying and doing. Now, ROI, again, I told you I'd keep this simple, but ROI is obviously the most important thing when considering an investment, right? Especially from a VC, or if you're an angel investor, if you're one of these big institutions. Usually speaking, outside of the crypto world, a 10x return plus is seen to be fantastic. If you see that there is potential for that 10x return, then that's a big indicator that perhaps it is a good time to get involved. we all know, I mean, obviously, many of us are not new to the crypto world. 10x isn't actually anything. We expect minimum 1,000% from something like this. Now, that may seem crazy to a lot of you. 100x would be fantastic, right? But we've seen this happen over and over and over again. Now, you look at Ethereum, 6,158x. Now, it was actually a lot more than that. I took these numbers. I think I was analyzing kind of over what time frames and whatnot. So we know it was over 6,158x at one point. But needless to say, that's a huge amount. I mean, yes, that was kind of the OG altcoin, if you will. But then you look at Uniswap. Now, Uniswap hasn't been around all that long. DEXs in general haven't been around that long. And I think that, you know, as you saw in my last video, as we're going through this turmoil right now with some of the exchanges and the nonsense that they're going through, I think decentralized exchanges have just got a big pedestal for the next bull run. That's going to make them all the more important as soon as the masses know that they should be, you know, in control of their own assets. And so that's another video. But when you look at 173x for Uniswap, Binance, 6,272x from its initial offering to its all-time high. This is crazy, and we're not talking, you know, 10 years here. This is a couple of years. PancakeSwap, 141x. Trader Joe, 147x. Serum and Solana. Now, this is probably the best example we have of a layer one in a DEX launching at the same time, or round about the same time. I think there was about 6 or 7 months in between when these guys launched. I didn't actually get involved in these, but I wish I did. Obviously, looking at the 497x that Solana did and the 122x that Serum did. Now, Serum's only been around 5 minutes longer than Solana. Sorry, Solana's only been around 5 minutes before Serum came to be. But I think DEXs as a whole are a lot younger. They're still in their infancy. And so a lot of these huge numbers that we're seeing with Ethereum, with Binance, even with Solana, we'll still see those through some of these DEXs. I think that if we hold and wait, the next bull run's going to enlighten us a great deal. And I think where people are perhaps trying to learn from previous experience with Pulsechain and PulseX by somewhat, you know, favoring that because Pulsechain is a layer one, it's going to shoot up in value a little quicker. I don't think so. I think that buy and burn firstly will take a lot less time than people think to kick in and start making an impact. I also think that the key word again, or one of the key words of the next bull run is going to be DEXs, just because security and taking control of your assets is going to be massive. So guys, there it is. It's super quick. I hope it wasn't too boring for anyone who is somewhat familiar with this landscape and did bring a little bit of enlightenment to anyone who isn't. I promise you the next video I will be hopefully over my cold and a little bit more coherent, but I do hope this helps. Feel free also, I know I wanted to dedicate this channel to speaking really about the Richard Heart ecosystem, but I will tell you that as well as being rather heavily invested myself in this, I am also going to be investing in, you know, a lot of other different projects as well. Analyzing them the same way, you know, using a lot of this very brass tacks way of looking at potential, but also some other stuff too that I'll go into in other videos. Leave a comment and let me know if this is indeed something you want to see on this channel. I know a lot of people, especially when they're very maxi on whole Pulsechain and PulseX, and there's nothing wrong with that, want to see content solely, you know, to do with those projects. However, if you do want this channel to start concentrating on some other areas within the crypto space, then please let me know, and I will make sure that I'm covering that as well. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.